E. Moser.
He wasn't just a drug runner. He was one of the 3 men responsible for killing Dexter Morgan's biological mother, Laura Moser.
Moser?
Yeah.
Who the hell is Brian Moser?
She was butchered by Jimenez with a chainsaw. Right in front of Dexter and his brother Brian.
Brian Moser? The ice truck killer, that was Dexter's brother?
Yeah.
Dexter Original Sin, Episode 8, Business and Pleasure. The storylines here are cleverly converging, with the Harry flashback sequences involving the demise of Laura Moser, the NHI Killer story, which apparently ties directly back into that, and the all-around evolution of Dexter Morgan as a serial killer, which ties in with all of that. Dexter's inexperience has been on full display during his early days becoming a serial killer, even with Harry's code in place, and Dexter's due diligence when it comes to finding proof that someone fits the code. There have been unforeseen obstacles that they are working to correct as they refine his approach. One big misstep came when Mad Dog escaped as Dexter was removing his pants. Mad Dog runs away in his underwear before getting killed by a car. Dexter had no means to reliably immobilize his victims. He's just shooting from the hip, smashing guys with guitars. Together, Dexter and Harry corrected the approach, with Dexter bringing the M99 into the mix, and Harry later suggesting he use smelling salts, which were both officially introduced for the first time when he killed Levi Reed. Body disposal has provided another big issue, with that darn arm that wouldn't stay underwater, and Dexter driving up on his own crime scene with another body. The gator-infested waters were obviously not a reliable spot to dump bodies, and Dexter improvised on that one, and ultimately didn't pay a price for the mishap. We know Dexter ultimately dumps bodies off his boat, which itself didn't prove as reliable as he thought, when the bodies were all later discovered and the hunt for the Bay Harbor Butcher was underway. Boats have been a common theme all season, with Mad Dog chartering his boat, Deb and Geo go on a business trip in a boat, and amazingly it takes Dexter no time at all to find her, on Camilla's boat. From the first time Camilla mentioned the boat, to again here insisting Dexter could use it, we know his first victim off a boat is coming, and while he may not yet have slice of life, slice of pie will work well enough. Dexter has a eureka moment when he sees Deb stubbornly fling her expensive pawnable gift overboard. Then we have the darn trophies, where Deb was quick to pawn Nurse Mary's earrings, and just as quick to gift them to her former bestie. We know Dexter never learned his lesson on that one, because we know about the massive collection of blood slide trophies, which twice get him into trouble back in the future. Great Scott. We see Dexter with a blood slide for the first time in the previous episode, which overlaps with the big bad Spencer story. So the safe expectation here is that Spencer will represent the final step in Dexter's evolution, where he takes a blood slide from Spencer and dumps his body overboard, which would officially make Spencer the first victim, where Dexter was in full swing vintage form, the Bay Harbor Butcher indeed. Harry refuses to hear Dexter's theory that it was Spencer all along, which is odd, considering that Harry is working the case where Dexter identified that 3 seemingly unrelated murders were all committed by the same serial killer. From the moment Dexter came up with the theory, he explained that the killer was experimenting, learning what he liked, which reflects on Dexter's evolution as a serial killer, and apparently his brother Brian's evolution as a serial killer too. If those were indeed Brian Moser's first 3 victims, then he and his kid brother both officially became serial killers right around the same time. LaGuerta is already showing an appreciation for Dexter's talents, wishing he was there to break down the crime scene. We now know that Harry knew Laura's children well, bonding with Dexter and being a bit cold and distant with Brian. So Brian was old enough that he knew full well who Harry was, where it's even indicated in the file that he knew of Harry's relationship with his mother. LaGuerta is on to Harry, but the name Brian Moser must not have stuck with her when he later reemerges as the ice truck killer. But we know she later discovers Dexter and Brian are brothers when she's on to Dexter because of a blood slide fiasco. We know that Brian Moser killed Joe Driscoll, Dexter's biological father, where it's never quite clear if he was also Brian's father. We likewise know that not only did Brian Moser try and have Deb eliminated, but he wanted Dexter himself to do the deed, with Dexter ultimately choosing his adoptive sister over his biological brother. Is it that far of a stretch to believe that Brian would want Harry dead? Not just for adopting Dexter without him, splitting the siblings apart, but also because of his knowledge about his mom's relationship with Harry, which ultimately led to her being slaughtered with a chainsaw right before her children's eyes. Matthews tells Dexter his belief that Harry committed suicide, and Dexter assumes that this happens after Harry walked in on him carving up Juan Rhinus. But is it that far of a stretch that Brian would want Harry dead, and that he would be clever enough to pull it off and make it look like a suicide? It feels like we're headed in that direction, which would beg the question, what happens to Brian between now and his reemergence as the ice truck killer? Spencer may have been revealed as the big bad who will ultimately help Dexter complete the transformation from fledgling serial killer to the classic Bay Harbor butcher. But the character driving the series is undoubtedly Harry Morgan, and the introduction of Brian Moser as a possible adversary to Harry provides a very interesting twist. I, for one, am looking forward to seeing what's next. What do you think? Please share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed, and have a wonderful night.
Son, I may be a small-town doctor, but I know a heart attack when I see one.
We've seen it before. It's nearly impossible to detect unless you can find the point of injection, which I wasn't looking for, but if I had a chance to examine the body again...
Jesus Christ! He's not even your family.
His real name is Brian Moser.
Angel, what the hell are you doing here?
I got a hit on his prints from a Tampa mental hospital.
Joe Driscoll was obviously bad fucking news, which is why Dad didn't want you to know anything about him. Doesn't that matter to you?
Harry wanted to keep you all to himself. And while you were being raised by the Morgan family, I only had the memory of a family.
He killed himself, Dexter.
What's wrong? Are you okay?
Just stay away. Please. Stay away.
Harry teach you that?
He taught me a code. I killed my father.
You don't have a code. Harry did. And he's been dead 10 years.